Get ready for an explosive checkmate. There's nothing quite like the thrill of trapping your opponent. In this captivating video, I will showcase 8 brilliant games of the King's Gambit, where even strong players fell victim to cunning traps in the opening. Let's analyze their mistakes and learn from them, equipping ourselves with powerful tactical ideas to apply in our own games. But wait, there's more. I've got an intriguing chess puzzle waiting for all of you. Be sure to stick around until the end to enjoy the complete experience. Let's kick things off with a game that starts with the classic moves e4, e5, f4, the King's Gambit. Black declines the gambit and strategically brings out their bishop to prevent white from castling. White responds with the knight, simultaneously defending against a queen check and attacking a pawn. Black defends the pawn, and white prepares for the central break with c3, setting the stage for d4. However, black has a sneaky idea up their sleeve, indirectly attacking the pawn with queen e7. The expected d4 is played, resulting in pawn captures and eventually black gaining an extra pawn with a check. White has the option to block with the queen or bishop, but instead, they make a dubious move by moving their king and sacrificing their right to castle. This seemingly risky move by white is actually a cunning trap. Black's bishop is now under attack and retreats, but they fall into a devastating position. Can you find the winning continuation for white? First, we have a bishop check, which forces black to respond. Regardless of how black blocks with any of their pieces, white follows up with rook to e1. It's a painful love story as the king hides behind the queen, leading to her sacrificial demise, leaving white in a completely winning position. Even if black moves their king after the check, white still plays rook e1. After the queen moves, the rook jumps up the board, delivering a crushing blow to the king's face, resulting in a brutal checkmate. Moving on to the next trap in the King's Gambit, we encounter the Forkbeard Counter Gambit, initiated by the move d5. White captures the pawn, and black promptly offers another pawn, leading us into the Nimzowitsch Counter Gambit. Instead of accepting the pawn, white opts to play queen e2, targeting the black king. Black proceeds to capture the d-pawn and tempts white to capture with the queen. Falling into the trap, white takes the pawn, delivering a check. Now, black has multiple options to block the check, but cleverly brings their bishop in between, luring the queen into their territory. Here's where the critical moment arises. What move would you play as white? Are you considering capturing the g7 pawn? Well, in this game, a 2,300 rated player made that very move and captured the pawn. Little did white know that he was stepping into a treacherous trap, which begins with the move bishop f6. The queen is left with only one safe square, g3. And then, the final blow comes with the crushing move bishop h4. Once again, we witness the tragic sacrifice of the queen, leaving her lover, the king, defenseless. That sweet queen is gone, lost on the chessboard. Let's move on to our third trap, which occurs in the King's Gambit accepted line. In this position, white opts for knight f3. Black defends their pawn, and white cannot capture it since it is protected by the queen. Instead, white develops their bishop. Black adds another defender to the pawn, establishing a strong-looking pawn chain on the king's side. White aims to break up the pawn chain and attacks the g-pawn. Black, not willing to allow it, advances the pawn further. If white were to capture the pawn, black could simply recapture and eliminate the doubled pawns while maintaining a solid pawn structure. However, white has a different plan in mind. Here comes the surprising move, a stunning knight sacrifice, knight to e5. White poses multiple threats, such as forking the queen and rook and also having a bishop check. Naturally, black captures the knight. But now, white reveals their tricky idea, and the excitement begins. First, a queen check is delivered. The only legal move for the black king is to e7. Then comes another queen check, forcing the king to move back. Finally, queen e5 delivers the decisive blow, a beautiful checkmate. The black king is smashed in front of its own army. By the way, speaking of smashing, there's something you can smash too, the like button. Show your support and give that thumbs up. Alright, let's move on to the next trap. In this game, we once again encounter the king's gambit accepted line, followed by knight f3 and g4. However, this time, white immediately challenges the black pawn with h4. Black responds by pushing the pawn forward, attacking the knight. The knight jumps to the center, and the bishop now attacks the knight. This marks the Kieseritzky gambit. Here, black decides to gamble and offers the pawn, which white accepts. Then comes d5, another aggressive move that attacks the center and opens up a diagonal for the bishop. White, seemingly unconcerned, takes the pawn, but that turns out to be a significant mistake. The e-file is now wide open, and black seizes the opportunity with a powerful move, queen e7 check. Blocking with the queen or bishop is not an option, as the knight would be hanging. Therefore, white is forced to move their king. The bishop joins the assault, delivering another check. The only safe square for the white king is f3. Black continues their relentless attack on the king, this time with bishop g4 check. White captures the bishop, but the situation for their king becomes increasingly precarious. Take a moment to appreciate the white king dancing all over the board. It's a sight black absolutely relishes. The knight joins the party with knight f6 check. The king retreats back to f3, and finally, black delivers the finishing blow in style with queen e4 checkmate. That's game over. What a thrilling game, showcasing the dangers of underestimating the open position and leaving the king vulnerable. Let's move on to the next trap, which arises from the Forkbeard Counter gambit variation. This time, instead of capturing any of the pawns, white ups to bring their knight to cover h4. Black captures the pawn, and white responds by capturing back with their knight. Here, black offers a knight exchange, but white decides not to take immediately. Instead, white develops their bishop, pinning the black knight to the king. Now, pay attention to the fact that the black knight has two attackers, but only one defender. One would expect black to address this situation, but surprisingly, black ignores it and simply develops their other knight. White is ecstatic and immediately goes after the knight. After the pawn captures the attacking bishop, white responds with bishop takes, forking the king and rook. The bishop blocks, and white seizes the opportunity to capture the rook as well. While it may seem like black is in a completely lost position, there is a killer move available to them, bishop to g4. Believe it or not, the queen is caught off guard, with no way to save herself. In this position, the engine evaluates it as almost a 3-point advantage for black, ensuring an easy victory from here. Now, let's explore the next trap in the king's gambit, which arises when black accepts the pawn sacrifice. After bishop c4, black checks with the queen, a very natural move since the knight has not yet been developed. The king moves to the side, and then comes bishop c5. Black is eager to wrap up the game swiftly. However, white has other plans. First, white pushes d4, forcing the bishop to retreat. Then, white plays knight f3, putting pressure on the queen and forcing her to go back. But black says, "Hang on, I won't back off. I'll stay here, protect this pawn, and maintain pressure on your king side." Black plays queen g4, which is exactly what white wanted. Can you find the deadly move for white in this position? That's right, it's bishop to f7 check. At first, you might wonder what on earth white is doing. If white takes the bishop, as played in the game, we have the brilliant knight to e5 check, forking the black king and queen. Additionally, there is a discovered attack on the queen, allowing white to capture her in any way they desire. Even if black realizes their trouble and plays something like king f8 at this point, white has the move h3, attacking the queen. Surprisingly, she only has one safe square to retreat to. Now, white can bring out the other knight. If black tries to be greedy and captures the bishop, then white delivers the lethal blow with knight to e2. The only safe square for the black queen is g6. Once again, we have knight to e5, and now, no one can save this damsel in distress. According to the engine, white enjoys a more than 7-point advantage in this position, guaranteeing an easy victory from here. In this game, the Forkbeard Counter Gambit is played with the move d5. White develops their knight, and black captures the pawn, followed by white recapturing. The bishop comes out to cover the diagonal, and the knight is developed, attacking the center. Black defends the attacked pawn, and white responds by attacking it again with the queen. However, the main point of white's move is not the attack on the pawn. White has a tricky idea waiting to be revealed. Black offers to exchange knights with knight c6. At this moment, white unveils their trick by playing knight takes f7, forking the black queen and rook. If black were to take the knight with the king, then white would deliver a queen check, capturing the bishop afterward, resulting in a clear pawn advantage, and an exposed king to attack. Therefore, black chooses not to capture the knight, and instead saves their queen. White happily takes the rook, but now black has a deadly plan. Knight d4 is played, targeting the queen and threatening a lethal attack on the king and rook. White aims to defuse both threats in one move, and the only option is queen to d1. Now comes the powerful move knight f3 check. What a move it is! If the white king were to move to h1, black would have some nasty attacks with their bishop, so white decides to eliminate the knight. Black recaptures with the pawn, delivering a discovered check with the queen this time. The white king is helpless and has nowhere to move. Forced to sacrifice the bishop, the white king has no other choice. Black doesn't even bother to capture the sacrificed bishop. Instead, they make another brilliant move, f2, which is again a check. The white king has only one legal move, which is king to f1. And now, it's a checkmate in one move. Can you find it? That's right, it's bishop to h3, delivering a beautiful checkmate. For all these traps, please keep in mind that you don't need to memorize the specific moves. It's more important to understand the basic ideas behind them and identify similar setups where you can utilize them, especially in the King's Gambit. By being aware of these tactical ideas, you can easily avoid falling for such traps and also look out for similar patterns to trap your opponents. Let's move on to trap number 8. The game starts with the King's Gambit accepted variation. White plays knight f3 to cover the h4 square. Black responds with knight f6, attacking the e4 pawn. White pushes the pawn forward, and the black knight moves to the side to also defend the pawn. White brings out the other knight, and black plays pawn to d6, offering an exchange. White simply develops his bishop, and black captures it, followed by white recapturing. This move is actually the turning point of the game. At first glance, it may seem like white is doing well because he is ready to attack the weak f7 square. However, the knight e5 move has also weakened the h4 square, and black takes advantage of this weakness by having the queen jump in with a check. The white king moves to the side to escape the threat. Black needs to address this threat and offers to exchange bishops. White accepts, and black is pleased to see this. However, black's main motive was not to exchange bishops, but rather to get white's bishop away from the important diagonal. Black then plays knight g3 check. White cannot capture the knight because he would lose his rook. Moving the king to either of the two squares is also dangerous due to discovered checks, so white chooses to move the king to g1. The hungry bishop checks the king, and white has to block with d4. Black then captures the pawn. In this position, the knight is hanging, the bishop is hanging, but white cannot capture either. White attempts to capture the bishop with his knight, which is the best move, but after black's queen captures the bishop, black plays the absolutely stunning move knight e2 check, forking the white king and queen. White is forced to capture the knight, but it's game over. Black finishes off with the crushing move queen e1, delivering a stunning checkmate. Had white's bishop been on a different diagonal, he could have captured the knight with the bishop and defused the checkmate threat. However, black cleverly trapped his opponent. Now, it's time for a puzzle. In the given position, it's white's turn, and you need to find the best move for white. Share your answers in the comments, and let's see how many of you can solve it correctly. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe to stay updated with future videos. Take a moment to check out the other videos appearing on your screen right now. Thank you for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Take care and peace.